Total Sports ESPN presents the Professional Bowling Association in Fresno, California, the $90,000 US Polychemical Open. Brought to you by Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Roberts. Joe Hutchison is with me this week. Joe, a two-time PBA winner, one of the top 6 in money winnings this year. And Joe, for a summer tour event, we've got a pretty good purse and a pretty good first prize.
Yes, Jim, $90,000 total money and $11,000 to the winner. This is one of the big ones on the summer tour.
Well, they had the regular format through the week, 18 games of qualifying and then 24 in match play. Got us to the top 5, and there had been a lot of left-handers in the field this week.
I think there's a lot of left-handers in the field this week, Jim, because the lanes have just been resurfaced. And they had an excellent cut, and the surface of the lane is smooth on both sides. And there aren't as many left-handers as there are right-handers, so consequently their shot stays better longer, and that's why they're here.
Well, last week in the final 24, we had only 1. This week we have 9. We have 5 of the final 10, 4 of the last 6, and 3 of the final 5 into our stepladder finals. Number 5 position, though, is a right-hander.
Number 5 is Jay Robinson, one of the steadiest bowlers on the tour. He's from Los Angeles and keeps the ball fairly straight, has only one problem, and that's he has a tendency to fling his elbow a little bit. If he keeps it in, Jay can be very tough.
Well, you said he's been very, very steady since 1973. Each and every year in the PBA Tour, he has won over $30,000. The averages, by the way, this week have been very high also. Most of the bowlers in the final 5 going from 217 up to 222, almost to 223. We get to the first lefty now, the number 4 position, and what a lefty that is.
Yep, it's Earl Anthony, bowler of the decade, 3-time bowler of the year, all-time leading money winner, 31 titles, 32 seconds, and his credentials speak for themselves.
Well, he was second in this Fresno Open last year. He bowled very, very well through the week. Actually, he was at the number 1 position quite a while during yesterday's games, but then went on down to the number 4 position. He'll have to bowl the first match at the number 3 position.
Next bowler is Paul Mosier out of Massachusetts. Paul's one of the shortest guys on the tour, but that doesn't mean anything. He's one of the strongest players. Keeps the ball pretty straight, keeps the ball in play, and Paul hasn't won in about 2 years, and he's due to win.
He had a 220 average. He is 5'4" and about 150 pounds, and he had a 300 game this week.
Yes, against Earl Anthony, and there's a possibility of a rematch there.
And he picked up 130 pins by rolling that 300. That's 100 over 200 to pick up that, and then 30 pins to win the match at the number 2 position.
Number 2 position is Mark Roth, the man who has just dominated the tour for the last 3 years, being the bowler of the year the last 3 years. He's hasn't won yet this year, but he's come in second, I think, 6 times. And, you know, Jim, you can shake a bottle of milk all day, but sooner or later the cream's got to come to the top, and I think Mark's going to surface today. He's my pick to go. He was the champion here in 1977. He's been kind of a fixture on ESPN since we've televised the PBA Tour. He's won several of them, 3 in a row last fall, and he's been on the show a couple of times. The number 1 position is probably a newcomer to a lot of bowling fans around the country. Well, he's a newcomer, but I tell you what, one look at him and you're going to have to like him, because if you don't, you're going to be in trouble. This man is 6'7", 260 pounds, and he throws the ball as good and as strong as he is big. And he led the tournament. He got in a little trouble last night, but came through with some really clutch shots when he needed them. And Steve has to win again here to requalify for the Tournament of Champions, and that's a little incentive that he needs. Well, he certainly is a big guy. He too had a 300 game this week. There were 3 of them all in all. So we are ready to go now in the stepladder finals. Rolling the first game will be from the number 5 position, Jay Robinson, against number 4, Earl Anthony. The winner to face lefty Paul Mosier, the little guy. Number 2 is Mark Roth, and then the champion going into this round, Steve Cook. The winner will get $11,000 in the $90,000 Open here from Fresno, California, Cedar Lanes. We'll be back in just a moment for the opening match on Total Sports ESPN. Feature Jay Robinson and Earl Anthony, a couple of veteran performers, especially Earl Anthony, who's won just about everything there is to win in this sport, Joe. Yes, he's the all-time leading money winner, bowler of the decade, and bowler of the year for 3 consecutive years.
There's the hand check. They are ready to go. They have faced each other 1 previous time this week, and Earl Anthony won it 245 to 219. There have been some very high scores, 3 300 games. Here's Earl for the opening shot. And he leaves the 7-pin.
That is commonly known, Jim, as the weak 7. Ball not quite having the drive at the end to slap, to make that 4-pin come up out of the channel and slap the 7-pin out.
That is a very common leave for a left-hander. And we have some left-handers to take a look at this week, and there's a spare by Earl Anthony. So Jay Robinson now from Van Nuys, California. He will shoot from the extreme right-hand side of the lane. And as we said in the opening, he has been very, very steady. He's won over $30,000 each year since 1973. Puts it out, puts it in, and he's lucky to get away with that and just the 4-pin up.
A little high. Got a good break, tripping the 9-pin out. Could have went either way, though.
Jay Robinson qualified only 15th, went up to 6th after the first match play block, then to 5th. And that's where he remained for the final 8 games. And he spares it off, so both bowlers start out with a 9 spare in the first frame.
Jay made a good move early in the finals, like you were saying, from 15th to 6th. But the last night of the finals, only the guys that were up there stayed there. Nobody made any kind of a move.
Jay has won 2 PBA titles, Denver in 1973, Trenton in 1976. Coming in from the left side, and we've got the first strike of the match. Jay Robinson in the second frame. So back to Earl Anthony. He has been very, very steady. Qualified 2nd, 3rd after the first match play block. Got to the number 1 position going into the final 8 games. Finished 4th when he slipped a little bit, but he is still in there. And there is a strike for Earl Anthony. So both bowlers keep pace with spare strike through 2 frames.
Not only a strike, an absolutely perfect stroke by Earl Anthony. Doesn't do much of the ball, just lets it roll.
We talked about that left-handed, right-handed combination. The averages for the week: left-handers 211 and right-handers 201. And these top 5 have really bowled some scores and have some good sustaining averages through the scores. And there it is, Earl Anthony in the 3rd frame.
Jim, it's an amazing thing. As many titles as Earl has never come out of the 4th or 5th position to win the title. So today, you know, finds him in a very different position.
He's won twice on these lanes. Speaking of Earl Anthony, there's Jay Robinson. He is the husband of woman pro bowler Cheryl. And there it is. It's too high, but he gets the carry, and he picks up the 2nd strike as well.
Excellent break for Jay. But tripping the 4-pin, Jay does that a lot because his ball doesn't have that sharp snapping hook at the end. It's just a gradual arc. It keeps the pins low and in play.
And we remind you again, the PBA is giving $5,000 for a 300 game on TV for the entire summer tour. Neither of these bowlers in running in this game, but they certainly will be in future games. Paul Mosier is in the number 3 position. He'll face the winner of this match. Then Mark Roth and Steve Cook. Jay Robinson, 4th frame, looking for his 3rd strike in a row, puts it up. Again, he goes too high. This time, he does not get the lucky break out of it.
Jim, earlier in the show, I remarked that Jay's major problem is keeping his elbow in. That was a classic example right there. His elbow got away from his body, his arm, and he pulled the ball high.
So Jay goes cross alley for the 4-7. Good drive, but not there. So Jay Robinson is open in the 4th frame. Earl Anthony is still working on 2 strikes, and we'll be back with more bowling in just a moment. For the PBA Tour, our next stop, the Southern California Open from Torrance, California, just next to Los Angeles on Friday, July 18th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Top bowling stars of today and the future each week on Total Sports ESPN. Here's definitely one of the big stars of the day as Earl Anthony with an advantage now up in the fourth frame looking for his third strike in a row.
Little wide. Earl all week has been telling me his game isn't that sharp. I mean, as hard as it seems to believe, here's a man that's made the television show. But if Earl's game was sharp, he probably would have ran away with this tournament.
Earl trailed by 115 pins going into the position round. There's a spare for Earl Anthony. So Earl Anthony has 69 spare through 4 frames, and Jay Robinson is open in the fourth with a 75.
Earl hasn't had the good feel all week. His hand release has been varying, he was telling me earlier. And it isn't like Earl. He usually gets locked in and just stays right there.
He's a 2-time champion here in Fresno, finished second last year. He won it in 74, 76. He goes way outside and misses the headpan.
Very uncharacteristic of Earl Anthony, but that's what he's been doing all week. And you know, you have to, like I said, he's his own worst critic. He knows his game better than anybody, and he said he has not been bowling well.
Oh, he leaves the 139, and he leaves the head pin.
His actions speak for themselves.
So Earl now with an open has 95 through the fifth frame. Jay Robinson 75 open in the fourth. So he will pick up the necessary pins there, and this match is very, very close.
The match right now is tied to the pin. Both bowlers going at a 195 clip right now.
Here's Jay Robinson up in the fifth frame. Turns it, puts it on the nose, and the 4-7 up.
Jay's having... The alternate to the show there, Ross Packard, another left-hander. Bowling style similar to Earl. Just
Ross
missed the show.
From San Jose, California. 131 pins out of fifth place. And there's the spare for Jay Robinson. So a strike in the sixth frame for him. It is a dead even match. As Jay gets ready to go now and crossing over on the left side. By the way, in last year's 1979 Fresno Open, the TV roll-off represented the highest scoring 4 matches in PBA history with an overall average of 250 per game.
Not bad. Too bad I wasn't in on him.
300 games this week. We told you about that. Jay Robinson is short, gets the kick out of the 10, and this match is absolutely dead even as Earl Anthony gets ready to go in his sixth.
He's kept his arm in, kept the ball straight away in the heads. Nice shot, great shot. First shot all day that he's kept his arm in close to his body. If he does that, Jay will be tough.
Earl's match play record this week, 14 and 10. He lays it out so softly, and the 10 pin is up.
Softly, gingerly, a lot of terms, but very, very effectively.
Bowler of the year, 1974 to 1976. We told you before he trailed by 115 pins going in. Position round that rolled a 258 and finished just 19 pins out of first and 14 out of third. There's the spare for Earl Anthony in the sixth frame.
Jim, as great a bowler as Earl Anthony is, you notice he doesn't take that much time on the approach. He knows what he has to do. He knows his job. A lot of the younger guys think that the real great bowlers take a lot of time. He is the opposite of that.
32 titles for this man. Seventh frame now. First man to get to this frame rolls it up, and again it looked like it was going to get the coverage as it kind of came down near the gutter there, but just didn't roll over the top of the pin, and Earl Anthony's got an eye.
Same hit as last frame. Swish and 10. Tough break. 5 pin just flew in front of it.
So Earl spares it off, second time in a row. Jay Robinson is up in the seventh. This match is close, and we'll be back to Fresno after this message. For more auto racing on ESPN, each week we visit the USAC circuit, and this week it's the Outlaw Stock Car Race featuring Bobby Allison. Sunday evening, 9 Eastern Time, with a repeat telecast at 2:30 a.m., 11:30 p.m. on the West Coast on Total Sports ESPN. Back to bowling and Jay Robinson. Van Nuys, California, 7th frame.
Let's see if he can keep that arm in again. That's the big thing. Keeps that arm in close to his body.
Best finish this year was 3rd in the national championship in Detroit when he missed the head pin.
A little fast with his feet, Jim. I think maybe concentrate a little bit on making sure he kept his arm in. He rushed up.
If he spares this off now in the 7th frame, there will be a 1-pin difference between these two bowlers, and there's the spare.
Nice spare. Tough spare.
So Jay Robinson has 115 spare through the 7th frame, and Earl Anthony is 114 spare as we get ready to go in the 8th frame, and there it is. Jay just concluded a tour of Europe last month with exhibitions and clinics, and he's trying to put on a clinic here and needs a strike, but he's got it.
Good shot. Main thing, kept the arm in close, kept his tempo down. Not like last frame. Last frame his feet got a little bit ahead of him. Lost the ball in the downswing.
That's the 4th strike of the match for Jay Robinson. Earl Anthony has just 2 strikes, 2nd and the 3rd, 4 spares, and he left a pin in the 5th frame. Earl's a pin down. He is still a pin down as he strikes in the 8th frame. Got a big strike for them as we go into the 9th. We talked with Bill Spagner last week about the 9th frame being the foundation frame. How important is the 9th frame?
It's the most important frame because it sets you up for a big 10th frame to strike out. Pro bowling is the 9th and 10th frame. Most matches are won and lost right there, especially on television.
Now this one is certainly going to be. There's only 1 pin difference between these two fine bowlers. Earl Anthony in the 9th frame cranking it home, and he's got the strike.
Jim, there's a shot there, not much on the ball, not much effort to throw it, and yet he ripped the pins apart just the same as a person that threw a tremendous strike ball.
So we go to Jay Robinson. He will be the first to finish up in the 9th frame, and then he will cross over. If he gets a strike, he will erase that 9-pin deficit. We'll put it up to a 1-pin lead. Puts it up. He is short, and a 9-pin.
Well, he was high early in the game on this lane, and I think he made a little bit of a move there, tried to move right, and the ball just stayed out there. Because when he threw it, he initially, he started to run it out. I think he thought it was a good shot.
And the spare for Jay Robinson in the 9th frame. I had a chance to visit with Jay before the opening match and told him he's known as being very steady. His evaluation of his bowling game.
Well, my game is not the basic game. I'm a little more herky-jerky, you could say, than the other players. So I'm very lucky to be as steady as I am. I do a lot of things wrong, but I do them wrong every time. So basically, you can say I repeat shots. And I'm very satisfied with my career. I've only won 2 titles plus the AMF Grand Prix. But realistically, again, I'm not a pretty bowler, so if I can win 1 or 2 titles every 2 years, I'm satisfied.
Well, Jay, after the spare in the 9th frame, has come back to strike. That gives him a 175 strike. He can strike out and get 205.